I first met Mark Bruce at the Celtic Connections Festival in Glasgow at the beginning of this year. I was there with Lorraine Lucas to do a set for Celtic Radio, and we decided to spend a few days there checking out some of the other music. One of the great things about the festival is the after-hours music clubs that they have, where for a £5 you can get to see maybe 10 or so acts, each doing a 20-minute to half-hour set. One of the bands we saw just blew me away. They had this powerful traditional Scottish folk music sound, led by phenomenal mandolin and fiddle players, but with a really tight and heavy rhythm section. Great drumming, great bass playing, and a wall of sound rhythm guitar that just glued the whole thing together. As the band were packing up after their set, I went over and introduced myself to the guitarist, explaining that I built guitar amplifiers, and I gave him my card. A few days later, I got an email from Mark saying he was really impressed with what he'd heard on the website and that he was looking for an amp to replace the AC-15 he was currently using. I usually meet with my customers to hear them play through the amplifier, perhaps making some adjustments to suit their guitars and playing styles before I give them their amp. But in this case it wasn't practical, as Mark was based in the Highlands. I'd just finished building a custom 20 with variable headroom, and based on what I'd heard of the band, I decided to swap out the creamback for an Alnico Gold, sacrificing a little bit of maximum volume for a richer tone, and I sent it up to him. The next day I got a call from Mark saying the amp had arrived in one piece and that he was stunned by how good it sounded. I took the opportunity to once again catch up with Mark on the London date of the band's recent UK tour, and to find out a bit more about his gear, his setup, and to discover more about how he was getting on with his amplifier.
So I am using one of your lovely amps, which has been great. I think I've had it for maybe about 6 months now.
Yeah.
And it's never gone wrong, and I don't think I can ever not have it. So yeah, it's great. I love the headroom control. I like that it can give me lots of like spanky Fender things, but it can also do like the dark thing as well if you turn it down. You know, turn down the headroom, turn up the volume, it gets quite. You can get it quite sounding like quite nasty. And I used to use a lot more pedals than this, but I kind of streamlined it all when I started using this amp because I didn't need a reverb anymore because the reverb's great. I didn't need a trem anymore, and I alternate between the more button, which is I guess just a boost. It's like kind of what if I go. Get any dirtier, just kind of gets louder, whereas I use this boost quite a lot for a bit of dirt. Yeah, the MXR stuff's great like that, so it's kind of, I think it's quite like a dirty boost, kind of get a little bit of like overdrive in the back of it. I quite like that, and I use this full tone thing as well. This is the one before the new one. I've tried them both side by side, and I like this one a little bit better. I was using it as I kind of overdrive before, but now I kind of just use it as a little boost because it kind of gets quite dirty as well. So that's the. boost in the pedal. So yeah, I use that. I use that sometimes. I like to kind of make every gig a little bit different and kind of like do stuff on the fly. You know, I don't really have set things that I use for. I don't really. Yeah, like I use the Big Muff a lot. It's the first pedal I ever bought actually, and it came off the pedal board and I didn't use for ages, and then it came back when we recorded our first album because it's just filthy. It's just horrible. so like woolly. Like I really. Mess about with the sustain on it and get it kind of squealing as well. And then I use this MXR distortion for parts of it as well sometimes because it's kind of like a sort of metal-y distortion. It kind of I kind of like to keep it interesting, and I mess about with different ones. Sometimes I'll have two of them on. Sometimes I use the more button instead of one of the boosts. Sort of depends how I'm feeling. Depends where I think the gig's going. Sometimes if I don't think if I'm not quite cutting through enough, I might use one because I know that's a little bit louder. Like I know the more button is a bit louder than the MXR one. So if I'm midway through a set and I think I'm not cutting through enough, I just turn it on.
So that you're saying you kind of improvise with the pedals?
Yeah, like I don't really
from gig to gig.
Yeah, like I kind of just change them about a little bit.
Yeah.
There's a couple of different settings that on the full tone, for example, it's got like this flat. I use it on the flat mid setting a lot, which is this one. Then it's also got quite a nice vintage one on it. Like maybe a bit meatier, like the flat mids versus section, but I use that at the moment. Yeah, so I guess it's sort of, I like to change it up a little bit. I like to keep myself on my toes, and we've been doing this gig for a while now, so it's nice to change things about a little bit. I used to be a completely bridge pickup guy, and I started using some other combinations in this guitar. This is a Baja Telecaster, so you can split pickups and you can put things out of phase with this button.
Oh, has it got the S1?
It's S1 switcher system in it. So, so I use that. I like this one. I use that quite a lot with the reverb. Yeah, I love that reverb. It's
cavernous.
So full, yeah, it's great. And the sort of the amp and this switcher has sort of enabled us to do different things that we didn't used to do before. I used to use a Vox, a big Vox. It was a AC15, but it was a twin speaker one.
Yeah.
So two Celestion greenbacks in it, and it was a great amp, but it sounded terrible until you got it like absolutely cranked, and no venue could handle it being absolutely cranked. It's just like we got it sounding great when we recorded the album, but that was in a separate room with so this is great because we can try out some different things in that. The Vox was big and it was heavy, and I used some Fender amps for a little bit. They were great too. I love the Queens on those, but I can get those out of this now. So it's kind of everything in one. So yeah, that's basically it. It's quite simple really. Like I see loads of guitar players with like big massive pedal boards, and I genuinely don't know how you tap dance around that. I have enough problem with these 6. So yeah, I guess I rely on the amp a lot to do what I need it to do, and then the reverb a lot. And then I definitely would need one of these, but these are all kind of interchangeable. I could sort of use any. I could like, for example, last night I just did the gig on Big Muff, and it was totally fine. It's all flavors, as opposed to necessity. So yeah, I know a few might come and go. I've been trying some Strymon pedals recently. The delay. I used to have a Line 6 DL4, which was great, but there's so many things on that pedal that it does, and it's kind of hard to find the one that you can get to work for you because there's just so many. It's kind of like it's almost like a multi-effects pedal because there's so many different things that it does. It's like, whereas the Strymon stuff is just great, and it just like colors your tone in this lovely way. And we're all big fans. Quite a few of the boys in the band.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it really. It's quite simple.
Okay.
G7 capo. I swear they've been really good to me. Send me capos a couple times a year. Nice of them. And then just the power slinky strings. Just they've got like a thicker E and A, which I quite like because our gig's quite meaty. as opposed to like needing to be lots of bending on the neck, and that's quite it. So it just needs to be fat 11s, and then I use a vegan pick. These are designed by a Dutch man that designs roller coasters for a living, and they're beveled, so they down the middle. You can see this is a right-handed one. He makes left-handed ones too, and they've got a little. They slope either way.
All right.
So when you go up and down, you slide the strings really easily, and they're great. And they are the most expensive plectrum you'll ever hold in your hand at £15. So I only have 2 of them, and that's all I can afford. They're great, and there's also something to use some plectrums by which I've got in here, by a Glasgow company called November Plectrums. And they're really good too. They're kind enough to send me some of these. But I like the fatter plectrums. I don't really get on too well with the pointed ones. Yeah. I like the triangles. Before that, I was using the 70, the Tortex ones that are the same shape as I was using the yellow ones. Yeah. So I was using them for a while. But these are great. These November plectrums. They're really grippy. I find that some of the plectrums that are a bit mass produced and cheap can be quite slippy, and you can drop them quite a lot. Whereas these are quite good. I quite like them. But yeah, the vegan is the one. Yeah. That's the one. Cool. So yeah.
Right. Well, let's take a look at this amplifier.
Yeah.
Let's get a bit closer up down there.
So yeah, the volume, obviously that changes night by night. Usually around there though, and I usually run the headroom at about 12 o'clock. So I guess we're running about 10 watts, sorry.
Probably a bit less than that,
yeah.
actually.
And then the highs and the lows both sort of stay around there. I'm using the voice in the middle at the moment. Sometimes I change it, but I've been a big fan of the middle one since I got the amp. Mm-hmm. And then the trem is just set up to be...
Oh yeah, do you use
the trem? Yeah. So we're sort of there. I had one of the Boss tremolo pedals for a while, the TR2 maybe, but they've got a kind of fault in them, and they've got a volume drop. So you turn on that pedal and like you notice your volume drop off a little bit. So when I got this, I didn't need to use it anymore. So I started using this, and it's great. And then the reverb's always there as well. So that's sort of like it never doesn't do that. For Lumiere thing for the. Turn the reverb on quite a lot because I really like it. Yeah, that's it. I mean, I guess like I like from the control point of view, it's simple, which I like. You see some of these other amps that there's just loads and loads of little knobs, and that. I'm quite a simple guy. I kind of like once I hear something that I like, I stick with it. So yeah, and
what have we got on there on the control panel? There? I know what we've got.
Yeah, so we've got the volume and we've got the highs and the lows.
Yeah.
They're both at like 2 o'clock, and then the tremolo speed and the tremolo depth. And then the reverb tone and the reverb level, and I tinker with the reverb level, but I've used it like that every night at the tour so far, and I used it like that for the rehearsals, and it sounded pretty great like that. And then we've got
So let's have a look at that headroom control. So that, I mean, you were talking earlier that,
So we run it like that. Quite like, sort of quite dark.
Yeah.
So that's in the middle there. Cleans up quite a lot.
Yeah.
And then if we run it back at the top, we get like a little bit spank. So yeah, so we're sort of running it. I run it just past sort of 12 o'clock, and then the volume has to come down a little bit because of that. But yeah, that's sort of where it's been at. The headroom, I like it where it's at there. Deals my pedals quite well there. Sometimes when I turn the pedals on, when I've got the headroom up, it can get a bit loud. So sort of balanced like that. And the boys all look at me saying, "Why are you so loud?"
You're the guitarist.
Because I play the guitar and I've got this amp, so why wouldn't I have it as loud as it could go? So that's as I say, like it's great. It's quite like it's like dial wise, it's actually quite simple, which is what I like, because some of these messy boogies that have got all the little flippy things everywhere and like loads of knobs. You can get it sounding great, but it takes you a long time. And this is great. It's sort of like you can get that amp sounding great in like 2 minutes. Like with various guitars, Sometimes I use a Strat sometimes, and this tour I've been using Duesenberg. But this is the one. This has never gone down on me. yet. And I think that when the world ends, there'll be cockroaches in this guitar because it's indestructible. And
Good
yeah,
old Telecaster, eh?
that's it. So that's it. It's pretty straightforward.
Well,
Really.
tell us a bit about the Elephant sessions and what kind of stuff you're playing.
So I guess we play all self-penned, I guess sort of Scottish melodies. We've all been steeped in the tradition since we were kids, you know, through the fashion movement up in Scotland. So we've all been come through that since we were kids, but we're not really a band that listens to that sort of music anymore. It's always going to be there and it's always going to be steeped in us, but like if you come in the van, it's a lot of like drum and bass and those type of things. So I guess that's sort of the influences come out in the music where things a little bit differently. So it's mainly you and Alistair and Seth that write the melodies, and then we all come together and like sometimes like I'll have a riff that we incorporate in, you know, some of that. So so we got one album out, going to hopefully record the new one in the new year. Sort of halfway there. It's sort of we seem to end up with like maybe 15 sets and we only record 10. You know, 10 we only make it. You know, we seem to end up with a lot more music that actually makes it on it. Exciting things. We just got a Celtic Connections gig playing the O2 Academy, which is a bit of like a schoolboy dream. I used to go watch bands there when I was a kid, so it's going to be pretty cool to get to go do that. That's the 30th of January, I think, and we're 4 days into this tour now. We've got another week and a bit, 2 weeks nearly to go, so we're heading back home now. This is us going north, so that's good. We were in Somerset for a bit and that was great, but we're very far from home. We were just getting nosebleeds there so far away from home. So we're heading back up the road, so that's it's been great. It's been great crack if nothing else. You know, we've not really done something like this before, so we've all had a good time doing it so far, and it's nice to be out there. It's nice to actually turn up to gigs where there's people. You know, it's good to actually see that we've people like to come out to see us, so that's quite promising. So it's been good. It's been great. I think we're all on just a bit of a roller coaster at the moment, so we're just going to do it.
Fantastic.
It's great.
Great stuff. Thanks very much, Mark. It's brilliant. I look forward to watching the band later on tonight.
Yeah, it should be good. We're looking forward to it.